future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Katherine Gray.
Brought to you by 360karma.com. Today, I'm excited to have on a trailblazing producer here in Los Angeles, Suzanne Farwell. She's been involved with some of my favorite movies. It's Complicated with Meryl Streep and Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton. And we're excited to talk to her this morning. Later in the show, we're going to be talking with Monica Phillips, and she's the director of the Friendly House, which is the oldest rehab center in the country for women. And we're going to talk about her fascinating journey to that position. So stay tuned for that. Right now, please give a warm welcome to Suzanne Farwell. Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Catherine. Thank you.
Awesome. It's good to have you here. You absolutely, what I just said in the opening is true. You've produced some of my favorite movies. And
Thank you.
What I love is talking about your journey to Los Angeles, because there's so many people around the country or even here in Los Angeles that want to get into the business. But I really applaud you coming from outside of LA, because there's so much nepotism here. And let's face it, a lot of the people here involved in everything from producing to directing to writing and acting are from families that are from here. They grew up here. And so they have the connections and everything. But what I'm really impressed about is that, you came from the East Coast, from Pittsburgh in the DC area, and wanted to get in the movie business. So we're going to talk about how you did that. But first, I always like to talk about people's background. This is like not cocktail fodder. Typically I wouldn't, know these things about you. You don't meet someone and go, hey, where did you grow up and what were your biggest obstacles?
Sure.
And you were explaining to me that your dad was an FBI agent.
He was.
Which sounds really cool and exciting.
It was cool and exciting and dangerous.
And dangerous.
Yeah.
But then you shared with me like this horrific story that he was actually involved in like the bloodiest day in history in the FBI and was shot at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was,
oh my God. Tell us the story.
Yeah. It was a really tragic incident actually in I was a senior in high school in Miami, which is where I grew up for the most part, and it was ironic actually, because he had transferred from the narcotics squad, which was proving to be too stressful, to the bank robbery, kidnapping, and extortion squad, which he was running. And long story short, it turned out it was very dangerous bank robbers who had killed several armored car guards, and they ended up in a gunfight that lasted for 6 minutes. 2 of the men on my dad's squad were killed.
Oh my gosh, that's horrific.
And he was shot 5 times and barely survived. So, that was pretty traumatic.
I can't
incident.
even imagine.
Luckily, he survived and went on to actually become a motivational speaker.
Really?
And spoke to law enforcement agencies around the country and became very much in demand. He was a really charismatic and inspiring speaker, and he talked about surviving adversity, and just it was able to extrapolate that experience to all kinds of things, even business. So
right, and you said that impacted you too. Obviously,
it did. I mean, I think what it taught me is that life can turn on a dime, and things can change in an instant, and to sort of seize the day and go for it. And
needless to say, you didn't want to be an FBI agent.
I did not. I did not want to follow in his career path.
So what's the next coolest thing? Oh, movie producer.
Yeah. Well, I always, I always loved, I was a huge movie lover, and I was also really into books, and, I just love stories of all kinds.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of what sort of led me on the path to where I am today.
I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
I love hearing them. You love telling them.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So how did you make your way from, Miami and D.C. To Los Angeles? I know you were telling me after you graduated, you started your master's out here, right?
Yeah, I moved out here to go to graduate school, and I studied English literature, and I really wasn't
beautiful
sure.
Pepperdine.
At Pepperdine, yeah. It's not a bad
really,
view from
does
the library.
school get any better than that?
No.
If anybody hasn't been there, I mean, it's in Malibu. It overlooks the ocean.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah. It was a nice view from the library there.
Yeah.
It was just gorgeous. And that was a great experience. And but what I realized, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go into publishing or, what I wanted to do with that. But, sort of being in LA and being around the film business and meeting people in the industry, I was very intrigued. And I thought, why don't I give this a shot and see? It felt, as you said, when you don't come from here or you're not around it, it sort of feels like, how do I break into that?
Of course. I think everyone thinks that. Whether they're a director, writer, producer, actor, it always feels insurmountable to break into this industry.
Yeah.
And anyone that has, you really have to applaud them because it is not easy.
It's not easy. It's a very competitive business. But what I found is, working hard and you can overcome those obstacles and you can break in. I started at I got some advice to start at a talent agency because the talent agencies, like CAA, at the one I ended up getting a job at was at the time the William Morris agency. It's now William Morris Endeavor,
which is huge.
It's huge.
I mean, that was a lucky break.
Yeah. Well, I got a job just as an assistant,
Yeah.
and someone said to me, the agencies are the central nervous system of the entertainment business. So that's where you're going to sort of learn the names and learn what the different career paths are, and sort of like boot camp where you learn how to work at the pace and learn the lingo and all of that. And so I did that for about a year. And what was great is that you're sort of alongside other people your age. You're all in the trenches. You work really long hours.
Yeah.
It's very intense. But I've stayed friends with many of the people that I worked alongside in those days as assistants who have progressed in our careers as producers or writers or whatever our paths may be.
So did you start in the mailroom?
I did not start. That is a thing. But generally, if you start in the mailroom, if you want to be an agent,
right?
And
you
that's
started
sort of
in the female room.
The training program. Exactly. I knew I didn't want to be an agent, so I did it just really for the experience.
Yeah.
And then about a year after, I did my year.
Yeah, you're too nice to be an agent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Am I right?
Yeah. I know some nice agents, but there's some not so nice ones.
Yeah.
Too.
I think you have to have thick skin is what
do.
I meant.
Well, you learn, and I did learn to have thick skin in that job. That was good training for that. But I knew I wanted to work.
Maybe I should go work there.
Yeah. It's I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Let's see what happened then. So then I sort of narrowed down. I was looking around at all the different career paths that you could take, and I said, I want to be a producer. I want to be a creative producer. Mm-hmm. And
that's what felt right.
That's what felt right.
Yeah.
That felt like the path for me. So, but I wanted to work on an actual film. I wasn't as interested in like development, like script reading, and that kind of thing. I was more interested at that time in actually being on set and learning what it's like to actually physically be part of making a movie.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
Yeah, and I there was a job.
You and a million other people.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes, exactly.
But you got to do it. You got to live the dream.
I did.
Yeah.
I started. So there was a job listing, a sort of an internal entertainment business job posting through one of the agencies that Nancy Meyers was looking for an assistant on her the first movie that she was to direct. Up until that time, she and her husband at the time, Charles Shire, had co-written movies like Baby Boom and Father of the Bride movies and those kinds of films. And they co-wrote them. He directed and she produced. And at this time, for the remake of The Parent Trap, she was directing for the first time.
Cool.
So,
and at that time, it's so rare to have a woman director, even now, but I mean, even more so then.
Yes.
She's become such a famous female director.
Yes.
So how fortunate that you got
was
associated with her.
So lucky.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky. And I was fortunate that she was I got the job. And and she was very inclusive and gave me a lot of responsibility. And so even just in my assistant position on that job, I had never been on a movie set, so I had no idea what I was doing. But what I lacked in experience, I made up for with enthusiasm and just,
that goes a long way.
Yeah.
They'll say, people can have all the talent in the world, but the other biggest part of it is your attitude and your enthusiasm and your tenacity.
Yeah, it was, and that's what really got me through. And
that thing about 80% of it is showing up is true.
Yeah,
right?
it is true. Yeah. And I didn't get much sleep on that movie, I remember, but I worked really hard, and we
I remember that movie. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Nancy's such a talented director and writer.
She is.
But so I was very fortunate to have that opportunity, and then I was hooked. I was like, there's nothing else for me to do in terms of my future, my career. So
it's so great, isn't it, when you're so aligned with what you're meant to be doing, what your gifts are.
Yeah.
No better joy in that. You can work a lot of hours and not care because you're doing what you love.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't feel like
work is fun.
Yeah.
When you love what you do, work is fun. So I that sort of was the deciding moment for me, and brings me to today. But when you realize what your passion is and what your purpose is,
we had a couple
it's
of little
exciting.
detours there.
Yeah.
So then you got pregnant.
I got pregnant
and
with
had
my
your
daughter,
beautiful daughter,
Kate. Yes, who just started her freshman year in college, and so I can't believe it. It's 17 years ago.
But what I thought was so cool is after you got pregnant, had Kate, Nancy called you to come back in a very big role, which I love that she was for pulling for women and helping women. Like, we need more of that today, women helping women.
Yes.
And that, I think it was great that back then, when it wasn't as common, that she was willing to give a leg up to another woman. So tell everybody, then she made you the president of
Waverly Films.
Of Waverly Films. Wow, that must have been...
Yeah.
I'd like to have seen your face on that phone call.
That was a good day.
That was a really good day.
She had made What Women Want when I was home with Kate for the first almost 2 years, and the movie was a massive success at the time. It was the highest grossing romantic comedy of all time.
Wow.
I think to this day it's number 2, still behind My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So that was a huge success, and so she was offered a great production deal at Sony. And called and asked me if I was ready to come back to work and if I wanted to run her company, which was just the most incredible opportunity. And so that was fantastic and exciting, and I accepted. And while at Sony, under that deal, we made Something's Gotta Give, which was a thrill. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think a lot of people would say that.
Yeah, like, to me, it's like a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I love it so much, and being able to...
I think we talked about that. We both love movies that make you laugh, make you cry. They're poignant, they're fun. Romantic, they kind of have it all there. And like you were saying, they really don't make as many movies like that today. And it's a shame. It's like... it's such a great genre, but I know your new company is focused on that.
Yes.
So we're going to get to that because that is super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. The studios at the studio level, they're not making as many of those films anymore.
Right.
Like Something's Gotta Give, or like It's Complicated, or Jerry Maguire, or I'm trying to think. When Harry Met Sally. There's just, they're a lot more of, the tent poles and the action movies and the sequels.
Which is so not my genre.
Not my
And,
thing.
let's face it. So the baby boomers are the biggest part of the population today. That means that's my generation, which is women in their late 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yes.
And that's the kind of movies we like.
Yes.
And we're a huge part of the population.
Yes.
And there's no movies being made for us, which is why I'm so happy that you and Susan Cartonis, that you guys have launched Resonate Films.
Yes.
Which is female-driven films like the ones we're talking about.
Yeah, it's films for the female
excited.
audience, because we know that women are a huge hungry and very underserved audience, and that when you make films for women, they show up time and again.
Why do you think the studios don't? Is it because men run the studios so they can't even see that it's a untapped niche?
I think that is what it is. It's sort of I like to say it's a long-standing institutional gender bias, and I think people they
make what they like rather than what
speaks to them and to their own experience, and so more often than not, they're going to green light and champion films that are more what
hangover trip to Vegas.
Yes, exactly. So that's the mission of Resonate, is to make films for the female audience and to take advantage of this opportunity, frankly, economic opportunity.
Yes.
To make these films that we know women show up to see.
And you guys have such a track record in this, so you're the perfect combination to put this together.
Yeah.
And I know you just produced also right before a cute movie I love called Carrie Pilby, which is on Netflix.
It's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
We were out. We had a limited theatrical release, but then we were on. We had a very big digital release on iTunes and Amazon. And
it's a darling movie.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
It was we were very thrilled to see how it did. It was the #1 movie on iTunes for 6 weeks.
Wow.
I'm sorry, #1 indie movie.
And I think that was great for all age women.
Yes.
Yeah, because we enjoyed it, in our age, and then I think millennials would enjoy it too, because it's about a young girl.
Yeah. So that was my first independent filmmaking experience, which was really, exciting and new and just a huge change. I'd only made movies for studios up until that point, so that was a big change.
Big budget changer.
Yeah, big budget changer. Yeah. So,
so for people that maybe don't know the business, there's studio movies that they throw a gazillion dollars behind it, and then there's the indie movies that are usually the best movies with the heart and soul behind them, but it's hard to raise money for that, and that's what you do.
I do, yes. So we when you're you have to raise equity, and you have to get investors and the financial backing to make the movies. I'm sorry about that. And so so it's that was an entirely new experience, just the fundraising aspect, because obviously when you're making a movie for the studio, you have they give you a big check and you go make the movie, as opposed to having to put the movie together with a combination of equity and foreign pre-sales and tax credits and the way that I've learned the way I've learned that it works. So it's that's been a really great learning experience, though.
I bet. How much do you have to raise for, I know you have an upcoming film that won the top script out of 7,000 or something that you're working on? I know it's top secret. We can't talk about what it's about or the name of it, but it's your next project with Resonate,
With
right?
Resonate. It's I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, so how much of a budget do you need for these independent films?
Well, they all vary, but the movies that we're going to make at our company are generally between 10 and 20 million.
And that seems like a lot of money to raise.
And it is, but we also, you put movies together with a combination of equity, and then you get what's called soft money, so that banks loan against foreign pre-sales, and so it's about a third of the movie is money that you actually have to raise, and the rest of it is done through tax incentives and foreign pre-sales and bank loans against those things. So, it's complicated. Yeah, no pun intended. But
Well, what's your next film? It was written by a friend that you knew.
So what was an idea? I can tell you the name of it. It's called Give or Take, and
I like that.
Yeah, and it's a romantic comedy, and it's based on something that happened to a friend of mine a long time ago. That I always knew there was a movie idea in it, and I finally found the right. Collaborator and a screenwriter. His name is Gabriel Mizrahi, and he's a newer writer, extremely talented, and he we sort of wrote it together. We developed it together, the story, and then he actually wrote it. And it placed in the top 50 of the Nicholson Fellowship. The Nicholson Fellowship is the Academy screenwriting competition, and out of 7,000 submitted scripts. So it's very prestigious, and it was really exciting. And we're just casting now. We're out to cast. So fingers crossed.
How fun! Yeah. So you're involved in the money fundraising, selecting the script.
Developing the script, and casting. Oh yeah, I mean we have a casting director,
right?
But yes, you are involved, and and it's again when you're making an independent film, and actually this is the same for a studio to greenlight a movie. You have to have a certain level of cast to warrant the budget,
right?
And that kind of thing. So it's a process, but
and probably to get investors, right?
Yes, so that you have to have you have to know that your movie is going to have play in foreign territories, and also that they have value domestically, and so it's a complicated puzzle that you have to put together.
It's so funny, give and take. It's complicated. It's like all the names of your movie. But final question. Okay, so you've worked with all these different people. Like you just also worked on The Intern with Robert De Niro. But whether it's De Niro or Meryl Streep or Jack Nicholson, all these people, how's it been to work on projects with them? I think people would like to know that.
Inspiring, amazing.
I mean, you've really worked with the greats.
Yeah, I know. I'm very lucky to have worked alongside Nancy and her scripts and her directing ability. Attracted that level of talent. And
we forgot to mention this next movie. You're going to direct.
I'm going to direct.
Oh my God! How exciting is that?
I'm very excited. You
really do it all.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's a little, it's scary, of course, but mostly it's really exciting, and
you've learned from the best.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I learned from Nancy and watched her, and hopefully learned a lot, and can apply those things to my own directing, and
awesome.
I'm very excited. And I just took a class. I audited an acting class, so I could just watch what the actors go through. I want to understand how to speak their language, and so I'm just really trying to learn. I've got a stack of books on my night table, about directing actors, and I'm excited about this next chapter.
What I'm fascinated about with you is you've been in this business like how many years?
20
years.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear you keep growing and expanding and going for it.
Yeah.
That's exciting. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And, 360 Karma is all about women helping women. And I love that the focus of your new venture, Resonate Films, is about women. It's women writers, directors, and cast, and that this shows that the movies are driven toward the female audience, this underserved audience. So I'm so excited to see what you guys have coming out.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Okay. Well, we will look forward to the Resonate Films geared toward the female audience. Yay! We're all about that. And we will be right back with Monica Phillips, so stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Thrive show, where we bring you powerful and positive programming about women and those who support women's empowerment. It seems by sharing their stories and showing us their talent and potential, they remind us of our own. We ask you to join us weekly by taking a minute to subscribe to our 360 Karma YouTube channel so you get to see every episode of these uplifting and inspiring stories. We all need more of this, yes? And did you know we have the Live, Love, Thrive book on our 360 Karma website and on Amazon? If you enjoy reading books of incredible women who are doing amazing work in the world, you will want to pick up a copy. Also, when you join 360karma.com, you will enjoy our growing video content of expert advice and support, and learn about our workshops and our second annual Women's Conference in West Hollywood, November 3rd and 4th of this year. If you would like to align with a like-minded, purpose-driven community, you will feel at home at 360karma.com. We encourage and support you to live the life you love.
RTB Financial Group empowers women to raise the bar and take control of their financial future. For more information, visit rtbfinancialgroup.com or call Amanda Barr at 424-284-4216. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Monica Phillips. Hi, Monica. How are you?
Hi, Catherine. I'm really good. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, my gosh. I'm excited to have you on today. You are the director of the Friendly House. Mm-hmm. Now, some people might not know what that is, so we're going to fill them in because it is the oldest rehab house for women in the country.
US, yes.
In the country. I love that.
Yeah.
66 years. And it's they've had only three directors in 66 years, and you're the third one.
Yeah.
What an honor that is, huh?
No, it's wonderful, and it just shows also this level of continuity.
Yeah.
And the solid foundation that we have. It's pretty unique.
It
I
is
really want
unique.
you to come by and see
I
it.
want to see it, and I want other people to go by and see what you're doing there because it's obviously amazing. You've been doing it for 66 years. You all have it down.
Something's working.
Something's working.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about your journey to getting to Friendly House because it's a fascinating one. But originally, you were born in Bakersfield.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. That would explain a lot.
Yes, I was, right? No. Bakersfield's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is. But
I
yes,
think I
was
drove
born
through there once.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you get off, there's some cool things to do, actually. But yeah.
So how did growing up in Bakersfield you had a Brazilian mom and a Southern dad.
Yeah, dad.
From the South.
Yeah, that was born in Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a combination.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. They met on a Greyhound bus out in the desert, but that's a whole other story.
That's a whole nother Oprah. Huh?
Yeah. But I wasn't raised in Bakersfield, though.
Right. So your parents ended up divorcing.
Yes.
And you ended up living with the grandparents, right?
And my mom.
And your mom.
Yes.
So, and you explained to me that pretty much Portuguese was spoken in the household, right?
Yep.
So, as a kid, that had to have been challenging.
It
Your
was.
parents divorced. You're put in this situation where they're only speaking Portuguese. I can imagine that was kind of like, life-changing. And
it was. And, Catherine, my mom, right as soon as we left my dad and we moved into this apartment, and the grandparents came from Brazil to help, take care of me.
Yeah.
And my
so
mom,
you didn't really know them?
No, I didn't know them at all.
Oh my gosh!
And
so
I
you're
didn't speak
all of a sudden
Portuguese.
living with these grandparents from Brazil that you haven't really met, and they don't speak English.
Yes, and we're
wow.
living in this teeny apartment in Echo Park, and then my aunt came, and all these people are living there.
Oh my gosh!
And honestly, I loved it.
And how old were you then?
I was around 5, 6, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved the food. I loved the love.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
Who doesn't love Brazilian
food? And my great-grandma moved in,
Yeah.
but my mom got this horrific disease,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
like a hybrid between leprosy and skin cancer.
Oh my gosh!
So she was put into USC Medical Center downtown, and that was another experience that I had as a child of being raised basically that big trauma happening and then being raised by the grandparents and the great-grandma and the aunt, who all were wonderful, but it was traumatic.
Right. So that kind of led you down a path of how do I deal with this childhood that I've had? And so while you're rising up the corporate ladder, doing amazing work, ended up top at Nike, right?
Yeah.
Heading up North America, right? I mean, you had a huge job.
It was the Americas region. It was actually, it's Central America, South America, and all of Canada.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you were heading up all that for Nike, but not feeling all that happy because...
I have this little problem called alcoholism.
Right.
That's in the closet.
Right.
And I knew there was something there. Because, Catherine, I got to tell you, I was always last man standing at a party.
Right.
I could drink, like, a lot.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was a little odd.
Yeah.
I didn't like the party to end.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of other social cues that I was noticing about myself, but I was functioning.
Right.
So it just kind of kept going into the back of my head.
Right.
But, yeah, I just knew that something was very, very off. And I only started drinking truly alcoholically when I'm 51 now, when I was around 35. Yeah.
So prior to that, you were just kind of party girl and
Partying a lot.
Yeah.
Holding it together.
Right.
Always on a plane because my territory was global.
Do you think the drinking was that you were dealing with all the trauma of your childhood?
Could have been.
Could have been.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I
just say that because I know there's probably people listening that are saying, you know, I'm not sure if I'm an alcoholic. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I just like to drink.
Yeah.
You know, I think people make up excuses. We don't want to see it. But I want to have this honest conversation with you that we can help people identify if them or someone they love does need help, because that's what Friendly House is about.
I think there was a ton of trauma that I didn't from my childhood that I never dealt with.
Right.
And
don't you think that's common? I think it's common.
Yeah, and that
way common.
created a lot of things of how I reacted to things.
Mm-hmm. And people take it out in different ways.
Yes.
For some people, it is alcohol or drugs. I know you said there was a combination for you. Other people take it out in other ways.
Oh, it could be sex addiction.
Right.
It could be shopping.
Whatever. Yeah.
There's all food.
Right.
You know.
Twinkies.
And I think that at the end of the day, just if I had to do like a one line of why is that, is that we all as addicts and alcoholics, we have this hole in our soul.
People are trying to fill it, and
we're
people
trying
fill
to fill
it in
it
different ways.
Yes, and we're trying to fill it.
Yeah.
And not realizing that it's really more of an inside job.
Right.
Dealing with all of that.
You were sharing with me, and guess I can share it, that you didn't have a college degree, but here you were rising up the ranks of Nike. I mean, huge corporate world, and top of your game. Even that sometimes triggers people too, like, oh, do I deserve to be where I am?
Oh my God, that was
that
every
whole thing.
day.
That's it.
That was
that's
a whole
lot
other
of people. That's very
mind
common.
trip that I would go through.
Yeah.
Like, today's the day. They're going to figure out that I'm really a fraud and that I'm horrible at everything, and always this constant level of fear.
Yeah, that's one of the most common things that people go through. I never knew that, but I've read that recently, especially like Rhonda Britton was just on. It's in her book called Fearless Living, and that is one of the most common things. People feel like a fraud, like, oh, I don't really belong here. I'm not good enough to be in this job or this whatever. So who knew? But at least for people to understand that filling that void or dealing with the pain with alcohol and drugs is, they're not alone, right?
Not at all.
And there is somewhere to get help. But how do they identify if they just like to have a cocktail and relax, or if they actually are an alcoholic? How do you measure that?
Well, I think that is basically is your life unmanageable? Are you finding, even if you're highly functioning, how are you feeling inside at the end of the day?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. Because you should be feeling happy.
You should be feeling happy and content and joyful.
Right.
And getting, having more positive thoughts than negative thoughts.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things to look at, and I never could answer yes to all those things that we just discussed.
Right.
I had, the job,
you had the job,
title,
the money,
house,
everything.
the right zip code, the cars in the driveway, all that stuff, and felt like I'm not good enough. I want to change this feeling. If I have a drink, I can change the feeling. I always wanted to not be in my skin.
Right.
Now,
and
not
you think
being
that's
in your
how somebody
skin
would
is-
identify it?
That's some of it, yes.
That's some of it.
Yes.
Okay. So if they're feeling discontent, maybe that they don't measure up, or that they're not feeling happy, even though they're maybe doing what they love, even if they're doing what they love, but they're not feeling happy, then take the temperature. Yeah.
And then does that happiness come when you take that drink?
Right.
Does that do it?
Right.
Is that the cherry on your sundae?
Right. And then that only works for so long, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
then
because
your
people keep trying to get
tolerance-
that feeling back.
And you're chasing it.
yeah.
You're chasing the party.
Yeah.
I want the party. Party died 10 years ago. People
Right.
are still chasing that.
Chasing
but
the
also,
party.
as you drink, your tolerance level's going up.
Right.
So by the time that I was at my bottom,
Right.
I was drinking a big bottle of tequila probably every 48 hours, going
Wow.
through the whole thing,
Yeah.
and no sleep.
And you
pass
said
out
you'd
sleep.
step out from work and take a swig and go back to work, and
Yeah, and I would do when I was at Disney, I would leave Disney and then make up some kind of appointments and to go over the hill and go to Mousson Frank's. And sit
not
in,
for nothing, but I love Mousson
sit-
Frank's.
I do too. Sit in a booth
Yeah.
and drink.
Yeah.
And drink. and drink.
Wow.
And then drive. You know, then I had to start drinking during the day. Then I had to start drinking in the morning.
And that's the other thing. Just the driving alone is just so dangerous. You could end up losing your job, killing somebody.
Never occurred to me.
Yeah. Wow. Never occurred to me
because
the drink was more important. Yeah.
So that's another good check the box. Am I revolving my daily schedule around drinking?
Right. And only wanting to hang out with people that drink.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
And if I'm going to go hang out with people that drink at dinner, I can't drink just like one. So I'm going to drink a couple before I go.
Right.
Have that one maintenance, maybe two, but then I got to get out of there early so I can drink more.
Right. So how did you get off this bus?
The bus took a while for me to get off of. I went through a pretty traumatic divorce with my husband.
Because of the alcoholism?
No, because he had an affair.
Oh,
and
well, that'll do it. Yeah.
And my big, beautiful life and my retail stores and my gallery, and it all went away within a very short period, as divorce does. And I had to move, and my stepdaughters were gone, and I just started drinking a lot. And I didn't like it. I was like holding my nose at first and drinking, but it would numb me, and I'd pass out, and then wake up and have all those horrible feelings again. But so that kept progressing.
Right.
By the end, I had lost the businesses, lost the job at Disney, was living in my apartment alone on a raw mattress in my living room because it was easier to crawl to the bathroom, and throwing up blood.
Oh my gosh.
And I got into a horrific car accident. Now, when you get into a bad car accident and they come to the scene and they see that you're drunk, they take you to a hospital, but they handcuff you to the bed.
Oh my gosh.
And that was a moment of clarity for me.
Wow. Did not know that.
How did I get from being what I was to I'm handcuffed to a hospital bed?
Wow. Here's a wake-up call.
Right?
But some people still don't take it.
And then they took me to jail after that, after I'd been stabilized.
Oh my
and then there was that clarity of me looking at most of the women that I was incarcerated with for that, I think it was a 72-hour period, were not like me.
Right.
And I wasn't used to being shackled to other people, to walk, and it was really just humiliating and humbling
yeah.
and just so tragically sad.
Right.
You know, my family didn't raise me to be this person.
So let's go to the happy part of the story.
Yes.
So you end up at Friendly House.
Yes.
How did you get there?
I got a list from the hospital of rehabs. I called, and I was open. I surrendered. I was willing. And I went. And as soon as I crossed the threshold, I was, what do you guys got here? Because I need help. Right. Desperately need help. Right. And because I had what we call that gift of desperation, it worked for me. And
how long did it take you to actually, feel better?
It was around that last week of my 30 days. I remember calling my mother.
You know what? That's reassuring to people to know that within 30 days you could actually feel better.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, that's
and things were coming
encouraging.
back to me like, oh, I actually like to read. I like to take care of my skin. I like to get up early. All these things that had just gone out the window.
Right,
Self-care.
you had lost yourself in it. Yeah,
completely. And my identity. I didn't really even remember what motivated me anymore, what made me happy.
And then you started volunteering at this Friendly House.
I started volunteering, and then I started as a weekend driver and sort of like a technician, someone that would drive the women to AA meetings, give them medications, just help. And
because it feels good to give back, right?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And then about 2 years into that, now mind you, I'm just doing this when I had this amazing other background, which is so different.
Yeah.
The executive director, Peggy Albrecht, approached me and she said, I need to have someone else in line to do this. And would you be interested in that? And I was just floored. So for the past 8 years, basically, she mentored me.
Wow.
And so that's now how I've become the executive director.
I love it.
I was able to take some of the skill set of the business background and apply it to this because it is a foundation. But I never knew that I had the compassion and all of those emotions and feelings that you really need to have to help another human being.
Right.
I didn't know I had that.
You didn't know you were capable.
Right.
But that's what happens. I
it's
guess
the
the
best job I've ever
alcohol
had.
kind of masks that.
Well, and all that's
Yeah.
away. All that's been taken away. So that nervousness and that insecurity and that fear and all that stuff has moved. And
So
it's not there anymore.
what happens if somebody says, you know what, I need to go there? They go over to Friendly House and say, I need your help, or how does it work?
I'd suggest they go to the website, look at it, check
Okay.
it out, call the admissions line,
Is that friendlyhouse.org?
friendlyhousela.org.
friendlyhousela.org. I'm sure we have it up.
Yep. And I will answer the admissions line myself, and they can talk to me, and I can do a phone assessment.
I love
They
that.
can also come and meet me and take a tour of the facility. If they're in a detox facility, I get a call from the discharge planners. But for that woman who just wants to reach out, and I get a lot of calls saying, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
This is about my friend.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
and those calls are very welcome. Yeah, but we can talk about, and it's all in confidentiality. There is some laws that I can't repeat, you know, to accept my staff, any woman that calls, and so it's confidential.
Okay. And so they come in, and is it somewhere they live?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so they live there.
So it's rehab. You live in the rehab, and we like to say it's a 90-day program. That's where we really see the magic happen and see a woman be able to just change her attitude about everything.
Does someone say, because I feel like there are always excuses, well, I couldn't go live there for 90 days because I work.
Sure.
So,
Sure, and then there's a minimum of 30 days.
okay.
So, you know, but it's nothing less than 30 days.
So 30 days they would take off from work and they would
Leave of absence, if, you know, we can absolutely work with their HR department or what have you, disability or, you know, there's a lot of different things to think of, but it's very overwhelming for that
Do you
woman.
find big companies are very much behind helping people with this?
Mostly. And then we have other women that come to us that it's very interesting to me. The HR, the personnel will look at it as a moral issue, that it's a choice they're making, as opposed to that it's a disease and that this person needs help.
But then I imagine there's some companies that are very supportive, like,
Yes.
yes, of course we'll help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The airlines are great. It depends on the industry. It just
Interesting.
depends on the industry and what they have set up.
Right. So how did Friendly House get started?
Friendly House got started in a very interesting story in that it was started by Bea Jorgensen. She was a fall-down drunk who was living in the Hollywood Hills in a beautiful house with her very eloquent and handsome and successful producer husband in the late 40s.
Wow.
And she decided that she needed to get help, so she started going to a 12-step program. And she made herself a promise that if she could get a year of sobriety, she was going to do something for other women because she had the financial background and foundation to do that. And so she went to the LA County Jail downtown, and she approached the LA...
After she was sober for a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she approached the LA sheriff and said, I want to bring in 12-step programs into this facility. And they said, well, we don't do that for women. We do it for men. She goes, well, why can't we do it for women?
You're kidding.
And so she became this female advocate. She was there every day. And they were like, okay, fine. You're bugging us. You can bring it in at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and you have to bring all your own stuff, and you have to set up your own chairs. She was like, great. So
Wow.
she did. And it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger each week. And then she was noticing that they had nowhere to go. And this one woman in particular came up to her and said, it's really nice that you bring your coffee and your brownies and all this literature, but we don't have anywhere to go once we leave here. So she went, okay, great. I'm going to go rent a house. And we're going to create some type of program where you women can go to. That's how it started.
Wow. And that
it's
was 66 years ago.
That was 66 years ago. And we still are at that location.
And where's that?
It's right in the Mid-Wilshire district, right next to Hancock Park, between Hancock Park and Koreatown, Wilshire Corridor,
Nice.
in
how
the
many-
area by where the Ambassador Hotel used to be.
How many people can stay there at one time?
12.
12. So
12.
it's still 12 to this day.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so they stay like anywhere from 30 to 90 days.
30 to 90 days.
Yeah.
And then we have a sober living over on more the Culver City area, Cheviot Hills, and that was donated to us by William Shatner because his wife went through Friendly House.
So they go through Friendly House and then they can go live at
They
the
have
other?
that option.
Oh, wow.
And we also are Switzerland within the recovery community. We're friends with everyone. So if you've gone through Betty Ford, treatment out in the desert, you can come to our sober living.
Well, I heard that when she set up Betty Ford Center, that she came to you all to learn
She did.
How to set it up and all the protocol.
She did.
Yeah.
She came and she called B. Jorgensen and said, I have no problem with the capital, the startup capital, and I have this idea, and I want to talk to you. And she came to Friendly House. They became really good friends. She was our very first honoree at our first awards luncheon 28 years ago.
Wow.
And she became a very, very important friend and donor.
And you do this
person to
every year
us.
now?
We do. Our next one comes up on October 28th.
Wonderful. And where is that at?
2017. That's at the Beverly Hilton Hotel.
At the Beverly Hilton on October 28th.
October 28th.
And it's a fundraiser, so if people feel that this is something near and dear to their heart to help women with alcoholism, then that would be a wonderful thing to attend.
Absolutely.
Or donate to.
Absolutely.
Or volunteer.
Absolutely.
All of those, yeah.
Amazing silent auction. Between 600 to 800 people come every year. And we always honor women and men that have been philanthropic or that have been really doers in the community.
What about Peggy Albright? So after B started it, Peggy Albright took over, and she has been the executive director for how long?
It would be going on 36 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's going on her 46th year of sobriety.
And isn't she like 90 or something? Or yeah,
she doesn't want to hear you say that. But she's in that age range.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean that's amazing, and still working, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah. She's now moved to our board chair, and she is a force. And when it comes to, I call her Yoda, because when it comes to dealing with women and the disease of alcoholism, if I have a particularly hard case as far as a personality, whenever I sit down and talk to her, she always has amazing insight because she's been working with women.
For 36 years, wow.
Yeah, and she is smart as a whip, and she's kind.
What brought her there? Was she a patient?
No, she wasn't. She was working for a Fortune 500 company, and she was laid off. And she was a member of a 12-step program. And she heard through the grapevine that this place called Friendly House needed a director. And women in her program said, why don't you go check it out? You're smart. You've got business savvy. And she's like, what am I going to do there? And so she went and she said, I'll do this for 6 months.
Oh, my gosh.
And now she just moved into the board chair position. So she loved it.
Be careful what you say.
Right? Yeah. There is something about it, Catherine, the job itself, that making a difference for women, there's just something, it's the best ride home at night, most nights,
Yeah, I think
it really is. It blows the other things away from me.
Yeah, I think everyone should figure out what is their gift and what's going to be their legacy.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is your gift and this is your legacy. And how wonderful is that?
Yeah.
Imagine hey, maybe you'll be there till you're 90.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Right? Who knows what the plan is?
But what a great job helping women every day to overcome that really terrible disease. And, hopefully what we've said today will make people recognize in themselves or in people they love how there is help out there.
Yes.
And thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. I
really
appreciate you having me on, and I would love to talk to any of your listeners or viewers that feel that they need help.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
If you want to learn more about Friendly House, go to their website, friendlyhousela.org. And don't forget their fundraiser is October 28th. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Make it a great day. Hugs and happiness.
Mm-hmm.